you've ever suffered from a migraine, then you know how painful they are. They can even be debilitating for some people. But there are ways to treat them and help deal with the pain. Here with some help is our regular contributor, Dr. Will Clower. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, so this has been in the news lately with
That's
Michelle
right.
Bachmann, the presidential candidate. And her headaches can be so bad she's just out of commission.
Yeah,
so,
and the question was, are they so debilitating that someone in that position should be concerned, or we should be concerned about her being in a position of leadership?
Right.
And so then migraines became all, you know, we needed to learn more about them.
Right. So what is a migraine? What's going on?
Oh gosh, so the best way to describe a migraine is that it's like an epilepsy of pain. In which, and it has a lot of characteristics of epilepsy in that it comes on and it has an on-ramp that can be 2 days.
Okay.
That's called a prodrome. And
what is that? What do people experience?
Well, everybody's different, but everybody's prodrome is the same for themselves, and it can be irritability, it can be dizziness, it can be, there's a lot of those sort of diffuse, non-specific things that can happen. Then, about an hour before or minutes before, often there's this thing called an aura. And for many people, it's visual. And so as this wave happens through your brain in the nervous tissue, you can actually see stars.
Wow.
You can see zigzags. You can have an entire area in your vision that's gone.
Wow.
It's called a scotoma. Right after that is the pain.
Okay.
And that's when the knife hits you in the back of the eye and you curl up in a ball. For some people, you can just manage it with painkillers.
Okay.
Ibuprofen, aspirin. But for others, it can be so bad that you have to get out.
Well, I've heard there's a lot of sensitivity to light a lot of times.
And yes, light, again, hitting on the fact that this starts in the for many people, it starts in the visual system.
Okay.
Light, sound, stress, and that's after the pain starts. What starts the whole thing, though, are a series of triggers.
Yeah, so what is it? Do they know what causes it?
No, not at all. That's what makes it so tough, Christine, because the triggers can be food. It can be things like MSG. It can be things, anything in processed food products, nitrites in processed meats, or even things like wine or chocolate.
What about things like stress? Can it be that kind of thing too?
Exactly.
Okay.
And once you know your triggers, then it's easier to prevent it. But one of the things that people recommend is actually to have a migraine diary, so that when you feel this coming on, and you know your triggers, right? And so when you feel it coming on, you can write down what you've had.
Interesting.
And you can say, oh yeah, 2 days ago I had Chinese food or whatever. It must be the MSG, or it must be the aspirin, or whatever it is.
So you kind of have to figure it out for your own body because it's different for all different people.
Because it's completely independent.
Wow.
And the neural mechanisms underlying it is, it involves your vascular system, because it has to do with your arteries opening and closing, dilating and contracting. It involves your neural system, and also it involves the hormonal system.
I was going to say, for women, can it be the time of the month?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What's interesting is that there are 3 times as many women as men who have these.
Wow.
After puberty.
Interesting.
Prior to puberty, the ratio is 1 to 1.
Wow. So it must be something hormonally related.
There's definitely a hormonal component. And the diversity of systems in your body that are involved in this make it really tough to address.
So you mentioned the painkillers. What else can people do?
There are, one of the more effective aspects, one of the more effective things that you can do, there are drugs called triptans, and it's a class of drugs that it blocks serotonin and it prevents it's a vasoconstrictor, so it shuts down those blood vessels.
Okay.
And it's effective in about 75% of people, but you have to take it prior to the onset of the pain. Once the pain starts, then you've just got to manage that.
Wow.
Interestingly, once it starts, if you're in the middle of it and you're like, oh, I've got to deal with this, taking caffeine with your analgesics tends to help, which is so ironic, because people say people with migraines need to avoid caffeine. But then once you're in the pain, caffeine with the painkiller, the aspirin, the ibuprofen, actually helps more.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Any alternative medicines that are working?
There are, but all of those are in the early stages, and it's
Okay.
sort of anecdotal. I want more research into the role of acupuncture, because some people swear by it and other people say it does nothing.
Okay.
We need clinical trials on that,
Yeah.
so that me and you can adopt for some non-pharmacological way to address these things.
Wow, very interesting.
Thanks.
Thank you so much, Will.
Yeah, it's good to see you.
And for more health advice from Dr. Will Clower, you can visit him online. We have a link for you at KDKA.com on our Pittsburgh Today Live page.